What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're working on our 2011 Audi A4. We are spoiled today, honestly. A buddy of ours, Ken, let us use his lift, so we're kind of cheating this time. We don't have to lay in the driveway and do it on our back, but we're gonna do a complete walkthrough on the CVT transmission removal. This is, as you guys are well aware, a common problem with the Audi A4. The CVT goes bad if you don't service it, every 30, 35,000 miles. So let's jump into it. All right, so step one, obviously we want to disconnect the battery. So that's in the trunk. We got to access it here. Remove the spare tire. Lift off this cover. And then we have our 10 milli. All right. Okay, we just want to disconnect that, and just remember, don't close your trunk, okay? So keep the trunk open during this whole process. You close the trunk, you can't get it back open without the battery hooked up. Next up, we're gonna work on the top side first. So we're gonna access some bolts. So you just wanna get your engine cover. It just pulls up. It just has some rubber grommets. So it pulls right off. As you can see, just have rubber grommets here. There's, looks like 4 of them. Okay, so we're gonna start on the top side of the bell housing here. As you can see, we got one bolt here. And so let's start with that. You're gonna access like 3 or 4 of them from the top, and the rest we'll do from the bottom. So I just have a 18 millimeter. It's a 12-point socket because it's a 12-point bolt head with a 1-inch extension. And then I just have a flex head ratchet because you're up in against the firewall. So these are all stretch bolts, so they're going to be single use. So we're just going to get top ones out. As you can see, they're not too tight, and they're aluminum, so they're super light and easy. Okay, so let's get that one out first. So we just get this one out completely. Okay, as you can see, quite long. Okay, I just want to show you guys, basically we're going to work with that top bolt first. We have one bolt over here to the left, another one to the right, and another one just above the case right there on the right hand side. So what I like to do is just make a little cardboard template on the back side of your new tranny. That way you can just stuff the bolts in so you can easily remember where everything went. We're going to, I switched over to a 3-inch extension. It's a little behind this bracket that holds the oxygen sensor and wiring harness. Okay, not too bad. Okay, so I'm just reaching in from the driver's side. You reach in and you can get your socket and extension. And then it's just a matter of getting your ratchet. Come in by the catalytic converter and then hook it up. So you have enough room to get your hand in there and work it out. There's enough room coming down by the catalytic converter, so. Okay. Disconnect, and this one's a little bit shorter than the other 2 we've taken out. So now we got 3 out. Directly below the catalytic converter. So once again, you can reach in from the driver's side. You can get your hand down here by the cat and make sure your socket is on. And then it's simply just loosen it. Slow and steady. You don't have a lot of room, with the firewall and stuff, but if you got that, flex head ratchet, that gives you a little bit of space. but I have the 3-inch on this one as well. So just to give you an idea. Can't really access this one from the bottom because the exhaust is in the way, and we don't want to have to take that off and, you know, spend more money on other parts. So you can reach in from the driver's side, reach underneath the heater hoses, and unscrew this one. Okay. Yeah, it's another long boy. Pull it out. Now we should be good up top. Okay, so now since it's easier to access from above, we're going to get our 13 millimeter and we're going to remove the filter lines going to the top of the tranny. Okay, so shouldn't be that tight. Just a little bolt that keeps pressure on both lines. That way we can pull those out when the time comes. And it's threaded into plastic, so it's kind of has resistance the whole way. Okay. Okay, so now that we got the 4 tranny bolts, the only other one we need to get out is the upper starter bolt. So you're going to get that from this backside here. Same thing, reach your hand in above the catalytic converter, and it's a 15 millimeter deep is the socket you're going to need for this. And you got to go, you know, it's kind of tough because once again, you know, you have limited space, so you don't get a lot of revolutions with your ratchet, but just be patient and you'll get it loose. After you break it, you have to get your 13 millimeter open end wrench on the front side and then finish loosening the nut on the back side. So it's a little tricky. Okay, so I was able to get my Milwaukee in there. Makes things a little bit easier. So there is enough room to get your little 3/8 Milwaukee in there. And almost got it there. Okay, so there's a bracket that the wire harness is connected to, but you're just going to come back here and slide that bolt backwards and get it out of the way there. Okay, and now this you can pull up and out of the way, so nothing's going to prevent our tranny from coming out. Okay guys, so I just put an engine support bar because we are going to remove the tranny. Just don't want to put any unnecessary stress onto the engine mount, so we're just going to support that rear hook there with the engine support bar. So next we're going to work on the starter bolt, which is a 16 millimeter. You got to get it in there and get your stubby socket onto a swivel, and it barely fits. I guess you could reach up and you could probably do a ratcheting wrench too, but this one works. It does get kind of close to the engine mount. All right, so I'm just going to get the rest of it by hand. It's kind of a tricky angle of your wrist, but you can get your hand in there. I'll loosen it. Geez, they make these bolts 900 miles long. Oh, Jesus. So if you look up there, I don't know if you can see, guys, up there, there's a little spacer that's there, and it's right in between the starter and the bell housing. So that's that fourth bolt that we took out that's underneath the catalytic converter. That's what's holding the starter on with this lower bolt. So after you get both of those off, then you can just get a screwdriver and you know, it should just move back a little bit. Just give it a little wiggle, and nothing else is holding it. It's just kind of in there. Okay, so we're gonna get these lower one. This is the driver's side. We have one here and one right below it. The same 18 millimeter 12 point we've been using. Okay, I got my swivel on and I broke it free. I was working on the top one. Okay, let's go to the bottom one. A little more of a straight shot. Switch to the Milwaukee. Okay. All right, there's the bottom one. Now, make it easy on us. Okay, let's get that top one out. Okay, a little bit shorter. All right, so we want to just, we're going to take off the steering shaft. So I'd like to just place a little mark here, just so we know we're putting it back together right, just in case the wheel gets turned, anything happens. We just want to do a quick mark. And then this is a T10, triple square 10. Okay, just remove that. And then this shaft will come right off. Just wiggle a little bit. There's a flat spot, and then you just push it, and then it'll kind of go up. If you look back here, it will go up into the car. So this is just going to give us that ability to get it out of our way so we can get the transmission out. And what I like to do is just put the bolt back in there for the time being. You do need to take it out all the way though, because as you can see, it has a recessed groove. So if you don't take the bolt out, you won't be able to get it out. So we marked it, so now we know we're gonna put it back on straight. Okay, so next up, we're gonna remove this cross member. So there's 3 bolts on each side. They're 18 millimeter. As you can see, I just left the front 2 in there loose. That way, it doesn't fall on your head. And oh, by the way, we didn't show this, but obviously I took the plastic under tray off. So you need to do that if your car still has it. Sometimes they don't have it. But just remove that plastic under tray because it's connected to, you know, this bar. So it'll impede your access to these front ones. Okay, and I forgot about that. I forgot about the trans lines, guys. I forgot that it has a mount there. Okay, so that is a 10 millimeter, so let's get that off. All right, so we're just gonna take our 10 millimeter and remove the nut holding the bracket to this rubber mount here. So, just one little thing I forgot. I forgot this was connected to the cross member, so 10 millimeter nut, remove that, and then this line will be free of the cross member. So then we can just drop this. Okay, next up, these bottom 3 bolts on the transmission. They are 16, so we're switching from 18 to 16. Still that same 12 point. Okay, I'm just gonna loosen all of them, and then we can spin them out with the Milwaukee. I got one over here. Okay, and all three of them the same size, so just add them to your cardboard template. Everything laid out. We got the starter bolt, we got the trans cooler line, and then all of the tranny bolts. Okay, now that we got everything out of our way, we can go ahead and just drain this fluid out. The reason why, I mean, normally it wouldn't be a big deal, but the donor tranny, whoever tried to take off the drain plug, completely stripped it. So I need this one. I need to reuse this one. So there won't be a lot of fluid that comes out. Since the car is not running, there will be some overflow, but it's not too much. Okay, I was expecting more than that. That tells me that this whole problem could be related to low on fluid. But where is it really leaking from, right? So I'm just going to get my pick tool and pop the little plastic piece out. Okay, last bolt holding the tranny is the front one, going from front to back, right below the starter. So it's the same 18. The starter might get in your way a little bit. Just push it up out of the way, and I have my swivel on again. And like I said, none of these are, since they're stretch bolts, they're not really overly tight. Just pull it off before it gets bound up. Shorty. Okay, next up, we're going to remove the passenger wheel. Get your cap tool, pull the cap off, 17 millimeter. Okay, so next up, we're going to get the cover over the half shaft. This is on the passenger side. So we need this out of the way as we lower the tranny down. We don't want it to impact the frame. So it has a 6 millimeter Allen. Make sure it's in there good. And they're not tight or anything. It's just tricky to get to them. Obviously this one's the easiest. The other ones, it's gonna be tough for me to show you because it's kind of in a spot. But basically there's one here where my finger's pointing, and there's another one on the front side just opposite of this one. So you can just reach up there. Like I said, if you got a swivel, you can get your 6 millimeter Allen into the groove. Okay, so now we're gonna loosen the top one. Got it? Okay, you can get it the rest of the way by hand. Okay, number 2. Now we'll work on the third. Third one, I used a quarter drive with the swivel. As you can see there, it's kind of in a really crappy place. And then look underneath here. You can see the green extension there. Basically, see the green extension? Okay, and then I got it. As you can see, it's right across from the other side. So we just take this little heat shield out. Okay, so we're gonna take our triple square tin and loosen these. Take them all the way out. Because you have the car off the ground, you need to have a little counter pressure. So you can have your buddy hold the opposite wheel. Okay, there you go. Yeah, put a screwdriver. Yeah, the other thing is put a screwdriver inside the rotor, and then you just got to keep moving it though. Keep moving your screwdriver because we got to get to a point. So you just keep doing that on all of them. Move your screwdriver, take the bolts out. All right, so we're spinning off the last one. Okay, after that, then you're gonna just be able to move this half shaft and it's gonna be up out of your way. So it's gonna clear everything. Now let's go to the other side. Okay, on this side I didn't take the wheel off, so you can just kind of use the wheel as your leverage. Okay, last one here. Okay, same thing on this side. You're just gonna be able to just move the half shaft out of the way. Okay, so you just get the 10 millimeter on this trans mount. It's kind of a pain because it's at an angle that is not as friendly as you'd like it to be. And there's no way to get your hand up there. Okay, I broke it free. Okay, there we go. All right, so we're just gonna get a little hook tool and then we can just push straight up. And now our trans line is free and that's not gonna impede our transmission removal. So we're at the back of the transmission. We wanna unhook the electrical connector so it just spins off, half turn. Electrical connector is off. You wanna unhook it from the clamp there. And then if you feel up, you'll feel that wire. There's a place on the transmission it's stuck into. You can just reach up with your hand and pull it out of the little clip. All right, next up, you're gonna use your 10 milli. Remove the gear selector support bracket. All right. Okay, and then after we start to lower it down, then we'll be able to access the gear selector and pop that little plastic grommet off. And next up is we're gonna take the 13 millimeter nuts off of the bracket. Remember, the transmission is sitting on this bracket, so nothing's gonna fall. That you just want this disconnected from this because we don't want to try to drop this connected to the tranny because we'll run into exhaust and we just want things out of our way. So just get a 13. You have a 13 bolt here holding the exhaust. Okay, and so just give it a little pry, get a pry tool, and then once you get it off of the edge of the tranny, you can just peel it forward, just like that, and then now it's out of our way. So we got our transmission jack underneath the transmission. If you're working in the driveway, obviously you're gonna be dealing with a floor jack or maybe 2 floor jacks. But once we get a little bit of weight off of the transmission, we can remove this rear mount. And this is the T12. Right, am I right there? Yeah. Go a little bit higher. Okay. Okay. All right. All right, so then since we took those other 3 nuts off, now the bracket's gonna come out of our way. All right, so I'm just gonna spray a little penetrating spray on that connector. We wanna make sure it comes off nice. We don't want to break anything.
Get your pry tool up there and just give it just a little bit of pressure. Shouldn't take too much. And then it pops off. As you can see, let me bring it down here so you guys can see. It's just a little plastic, compression ball, and that pops off the transmission. Now that's out of our way. We have our wire harness that's unconnected. Now we're gonna start working on shimmying the transmission back a little bit, get it disconnected. All right, so you got your 16 ratcheting wrench, and you're gonna use a 24. If you look down here, you're gonna use your 24 millimeter shallow on the crank. So we wanna rotate around. There's 3 of these bolts, so we just need to break them free. And so once you get them free, then you can just spin them off by hand. And then you're gonna go ahead and rotate the engine and get the other 2. And that's what's holding this little like flex plate / torque converter thing. It's not really either one of those things, but we'll rotate the engine around. Like I said, there's 3 of them. And a little bit more, and stop. So we go ahead, we got it separated. We're just going to go ahead and gently pull it back, make sure nothing is touching it, nothing's connected. And we'll lower it a little bit. Remember, you have your little lines here. You need to make sure those are free. You got your line here, and you got your steering column, or your, steering rack. You need to go back a little bit. Be mindful of your wires. Okay. I think we can go down just a scotch. Okay, so we want to make sure and clear our steering. We have our half shafts, make sure they're out of the way. Wires out. Exhaust on this side, everything looks good. It's hitting the exhaust, we have to go down a little bit. All right, so we got it clear of our steering. We have to be mindful of this thing, so we're gonna go down a little bit lower. And then we're gonna try to rotate it. Obviously, to make it super easy, you can drop the sway bar and drop the steering rack, but I'm just gonna ever so gently move this this power steering line kind of out of the way, and then we can slowly bring it down, slowly lower it in between the frame, and as we are pulling it back ever so slightly. No, it's bound up there. Yeah, our sweet spot is to come basically straight down, so. Okay, all right. Here we go, guys. It's just, yeah, sorry. The wire harness, like I said, it has that little clip. There's 2 of them. I forgot about that one. Snaps on. Okay. And coming down nice and gentle like. Just put a little strap over it just for safekeeping. Make sure it doesn't go anywhere. Okay. Audi CVT transmission is out. All right, so we're back underneath the car. We just want to get this flex plate off. We're going to change this rear main seal, so this is in our way. These little, it's not really a flywheel, so it's more like a flex disc. I just marked it on the bell housing and this, just to make sure we put everything back the same way. Get your triple square 12, your XZN 12, and we're going to remove those. Okay, just little Loctite bulbs. These are the stretch ones, so we have new ones to put in. All right, so I just give it a little tap, free it up a little bit. All right, so you just give it a little wiggle and then it will come off. And there she is, our rear main seal. Doesn't look, I mean, maybe. Yeah, I guess there is some evidence. So it's good. We definitely were leaking something, so it's good that we're going to change this while we have the transmission out. All right, next up, we're going to remove the complete assembly for the rear main seal. This is a T30. All right, so we got all the bolts out. I'm just gonna use a little pry tool. If I pry on the edge of the transmission here, then it doesn't do any, you don't wanna mess up that surface. So remember, it's just held on with that single-use adhesive stuff. So the black Audi goop. So we'll get this cleaned up with a little razor blade, and we're gonna install the new one. Okay, and I forgot to mention, we are doing an oil change at the same time. I think if it's full, you're gonna get a little oil leak out of here. So we just wanna drain it, make sure we're nowhere near here. And that way we'll just do it all at the same time. So we got a fresh tranny, we got a fresh oil. All right, so we have our Audi silicone adhesive, D176 501A1. And we're gonna just make sure we put it inside, right inside that groove. We're just gonna lay a little bead, just like this one. As you can see, the old one, it smashed it along the groove. So that's what we're gonna do. Okay, I think that's good. Put a little in each corner. Okay, as you can see, we got it all cleaned up. I'm just gonna put a light little bit of oil, just some oil that, you know, when we drained the crankcase. Okay, got our oil there. Okay, and now we're ready to insert the rear main seal. Looks like I got a little, I wanna make sure that's not, doesn't have any oil on the surface. Okay. All right. I'm gonna line up our little doodad here. Line up our holes the best that we can. And we're just gonna go ahead and slowly press it down the plastic. And we're on. Get our bolts. All right, so first round, basically I'm just gonna get them all started to where they're touching. Just making contact with the metal, not tightening it at all. Okay, so here is the torque sequence that you're gonna use to tighten these up. So screenshot that. And then we're just gonna do it hand tight. So number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, okay, number 5 up here, 6 down at the bottom, 7, and then finish off with 8. So basically I just did it as tight as I can get it with my hand. And then we're gonna switch. We're gonna set our torque wrench to 6.6 foot-pounds, or if you have a torque wrench that goes Newton meters, then it's gonna be 9. And the same pattern, so we're gonna start here with number 1. Okay, and number 2. Okay, number 3. Okay, number 4. All right, number 5. And number 6.
7 up top. And finally, number 8. All right. Doesn't feel like much, guys, but that's it. You got to remember, we got the goop basically sticking it on as well. So let's get our dust plate back on and let's mount the disc. Okay, so I just want to show you guys. So if you mark inside on the actual crankshaft itself, then it's good. This mark didn't do anything. That was pointless. I wasn't sure that this separated from this. So now we can put it back on the same way. As you can see, we line it up here to there. And then these didn't really matter. So really the only thing you know to mark is the outside of this and the inside of the crank itself. All right, guys, so you do need to get new bolts for the flex plate. These are stretch bolts, so make sure you pick those up. The part number will be in the description below. And it already has the thread locker, you know, from Audi, from the factory. So we're just gonna get these all started. Kind of just do crisscross, so that way we'll make sure everything is centered. So I'm just gonna get them started, make sure we're not cross-threaded, and then I'll spin them up until they're snug. All right, let's just get the rattle gun to cinch them down. All right, so like I said, I'm not tightening it with this. I'm just gonna center it. One more. Okay, let's get the torque wrench. Okay, so we got our torque wrench set to 44 foot-pounds. So let's go ahead and get them to 44. Okay, and then we're gonna go directly, just, you know, crisscross applesauce pattern. Okay, so then we'll come down here. So basically we started at 6, we go to 12. Okay, then we got like 7, 8, and then we go up here to 1 and 2. Okay, and then we come over here to 9 o'clock. Okay, come over here to 3 o'clock. Okay, come up here to 11, 10, 11. Okay, and then back down here to 4, 5. Okay, all right. Okay guys, just want to show you, I just put a little mark at the bottom of each of the bolts. So at the 6 o'clock. So we're going to take it from 6 o'clock and we need to go 90 more to stretch it to 9 o'clock. So we'll go from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. on all of these. All right, ready? Obviously you need counter pressure on the crank. So you'll need your 24 stubby on another bar in the front. You'll need someone to hold it unless you have the, you know, kind of a flywheel lock, but we don't have that. So I did the top one already. So we're on number 2 here. So it is tight, there's no doubt about it. But you got to get a big breaker bar. Okay, just a tiny bit more, we're almost there.
Okay, perfect. All right. So we might have our mark here, so we know that we were at 6 and now we're at 9. So just complete that. So we did 1, 2, so we'll go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Crisscross applesauce. Okay. We're going up top here. Ready? One more. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so now all the blue dots are facing at 9 o'clock, so we're good. All right, so we got our donor tranny. We went ahead and pressure washed everything, got it cleaned up. I hate messing around with dirty parts, so if that's something you guys have, then do that. While we have the transmission out, we're gonna go ahead and replace the trans filter. Just makes it easier while we have it out on the bench. So you need your T30 again, and just 3 bolts holding it in. Okay, set those aside. All right, so after you get the 3 bolts out, just give it a little wiggle and it should come straight out. Might be a little fluid that drips from it, but nothing big. And you know, there's O-rings here at the very bottom here, and then there's an O-ring that seals along the top around this. So we'll clean this up and get it ready. All right, guys, so before we put the filter into position, we're gonna go ahead and just kind of cheat a little bit and make it easy to put the initial 6 liters in. So we have our ATF fluid. This is for the CVT transmission specifically. So we're just gonna dump it in this hole because, you know, it's kind of a pain. We don't have the fancy pump to do it from underneath. We just have the hand pump. So that last little bit we'll just do by hand, but I don't wanna pump 6 liters in. So we can just dump all 6 in and do it that way. We have the drain plug in, and we have the little black plastic level tube is back inside. So make sure you put those back in. I think this would be a faster way to do it, you know, when you're in the car as well. So makes it easier than pumping it from below. It's quite difficult if you don't have the right pump. Okay, so before we put our 6th liter in, I'm gonna go ahead and get the new filter and get that opened up. The reason why is I want to just use this last quart to just dip my finger in there, get some fresh fluid on these 2 O-rings. All right, and dump our 6 liter in. And it's going to go, basically just pushes down, kind of. Yeah, you'll feel it kind of go into the groove. All right, so we're just gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna cinch these down. Okay, get the torque wrench. All right, so just torque all of them down to 5 Newton meters. And then it's just 90 additional. So same thing, we mark it at 6, go to 9. Okay, before we put the transmission back in, we're gonna just go ahead and grab these seals and get your hook tool and pull them off. Okay, there's one. Just to replace these, just, you know, you don't want any leaks. So it's a simple, inexpensive item just to replace while you have it apart. Okay, let's grab the new ones. All right, so we got our new seals. Okay, there's one. I just put a little bit of transmission fluid, some residue from one of the bottles. If they're a little tight, then you can just get a small screwdriver, help get it over that lip, and then use your thumb to just massage it around. Yeah, wow. Okay. All right, both of them are on, and they got a little bit of oil on there, so let's get this transmission installed. So we're going up with the transmission. It's a tight fit in between the frame rail for sure. Just you need to slowly, as you go up, slowly inch it forward. Okay, yeah? Okay, so just slowly go up, and slowly go forward. You want to make sure you're high enough to clear, the power steering box. We got room there. We're a little close to the exhaust, so we need to go forward. Okay. All right. Just looking around. Make sure everything's out of the way. We're clear. We're going to go a little farther forward. Okay, just make sure on your left-hand side you have your coolant lines. Just make sure they're up and out of the way, and your wires are not impeding on the bell housing. Okay, and then we're gonna slowly go up, come forward a little bit. Okay, we got a good angle. We're close. Gonna tilt it. Okay, come up just a tiny bit. Okay, tilt it a little bit more. Come up just a tiny bit. So you gotta mess around with it. I mean, having the transmission jack is definitely a lifesaver, guys. So, man, if I was on the driveway dealing with a floor jack with this heavy beast, it would be very, very challenging. Let's see, make sure we're kind of let me come down just a, okay, I just want to make sure this is out of the way. Our gear selector, I feel like we're binding a little bit here, so I forgot to get that out of the way before we went up there. Okay, just get that out of the way. Okay, the other thing to keep in mind is depending on the angle of the engine, we're gonna have to lift the front of the engine. Okay, so I wiggled it around, adjusted the trans jack. As you can see, we got a nice straight line all the way. So I got the 116 in the bottom. So we're just gonna pull it real slow, make sure everything looks good, okay? And now let's start adding these bolts. Okay, so we got our first one in. So let's work on putting these two side ones in, and then we'll jump over and put on this right one here. So let's just get all the bottom ones because the other ones we access from the top. So let's do this left middle. Okay, left middle is here. I know it's hard to see. I tried to mark it with a little blue, so get it there. I'm starting it by hand just to make sure. Yep, starting by hand. Got a few threads, so we're good. Okay, just remember these side bolts, top bolts are all 18, so just switch to your 18 12 point. Make sure it goes in smooth. There shouldn't be any resistance. Okay. All right, hidden behind here, it's tough to see. Okay. I always like to start a couple threads first. Make sure you're in, because remember, everything's aluminum. The bolts are aluminum, and the case, everything's aluminum, so. Let's go to the right side. Okay, so this is on the driver's side. Get that extra other bottom one in. And then here on the right-hand side. Okay. Now let's, before we get the tranny jack, let's go ahead and get our rear cross member because we can't access any of the other bolts. We have to do that from the top. All right, we're gonna get our rear bracket on. Okay, I'm just gonna get it started. I'm only gonna put a couple threads on because I still wanna have enough room to get my hand up there. Oh, where's my fourth bolt? Okay, all right. Okay, so now we have it supported in the rear. We can, and we have a few bolts in, so everything's lined up. We can go ahead and lower the transmission jack, get it out of our way. All right, so now we kind of got everything supported. You know, everything is still just snug. We didn't tighten it, but I want to go ahead and just get these flywheel bolts. So these are the ones that I replaced. I'll put the part number in the description below. So you need 3 of these on this CVT. These are the new quote-unquote stretch bolts for the flex plate. So we're just going to get them started. And what we want to do is basically just get them to where each of them are snug. We don't want to tighten it, so basically just hand tight. And then you got your 24 millimeter on your crank. So we want to just rotate that around after you get the first one in. And look for the next one. Okay, next one. So we're just going to get them all snug. Okay, I'm going to give this one, since I see a little bit of gap there, you get your 17. Just snug it a little bit. The other one was kind of flush, so depending on how that plate sits, there's not really any pressure. It's just slowly straightening out the flex plate. Okay, I'll rotate around, get to our third one. All right, so now that we got them all snug, we're gonna go ahead and just cinch down the first one. Okay, and that's just gonna be pretty tight. There's, I mean, they say you're supposed to go 60 Newton meters and then 120 Newton meters, but honestly, you can't get. I'll show you guys. I have a torque wrench. I mean, it's impossible to get the torque wrench, in there. So you have to do it with a spanner wrench, and we're just going to get it as tight as we possibly can get it. Okay, snug down the second one, rotate the engine around, and we'll snug this third one down. Okay, and then we're gonna rotate back to the first one. Okay, so I'm back on the first one. I have, as you can see, a cheater. I have a 21 on my 17. So we're gonna go ahead and use that for leverage. I have my 24 on the crank. So I'm pushing forward and I'm tightening at the same time. So basically, I'm just getting it as tight as I physically can get it. And we're gonna call that good. I'm gonna rotate around to the second one and do the same thing. Get my wrench on. Okay, and the last one. Third one. Okay. Okay, we're gonna get this bracket, since we kind of just left it here. Now that we got the tranny snug, we're gonna just tack those down. There's 4 of them. That's your, what is this one? That's your 12. Your triple square 12. Okay, we got those snug. Come back with the torque wrench in a second. Get your 13 on the mount itself. Okay, now we got our torque wrench set. These are torqued to 70 Newton meters, or roughly 52 foot-pounds. Okay. All right, so these 13 millimeter mounts, these are torqued to 20 Newton meters, or 15. So they're not that tight, just snug. Okay, so I'm just gonna reach over on this side here and grab our wire harness. I wanna go ahead and feed it back along here, and then you can get it beside the transmission here. Okay, get that over. Just gotta wiggle it a little bit. Okay, there you go. It's kind of close. Another thing, I guess we could, before we tighten the bracket up, well, I guess we should have put this wire, back into place. So next we can get our shifter cable. We know that it is gonna mount here with the 2 bolts. So we're just gonna reach up there and get it hooked on first. But basically you're kind of doing it by braille. You're just gonna feel for that little knob there, and then you have your little cup. Kind of easier to put it on this driver's side a little bit. Okay, as you can see, I got my little
pry tool right there. You're just going to use that to push the little end back on. Okay, so after you got that, you know the transmission's in park if this is all the way back, and it's easy to get back there. So you get your 2 bolts, your 10 millimeters, and get those hooked back up. All right, I just make sure those are snug. Remember, the transmission case is aluminum, so you don't need to go crazy. And then now you can get your plug back in. You should line it up first, and then you'll be able to spin it right into place, and it locks into place. You can try to get this little wire support, just to put it back where it was. And then the other thing is you can try to reach up. It has that flat, it pushes down flat on one of the vanes of the top of the transmission, so you can kind of reach your hand up there. Like I said, you got to do it by braille, unfortunately, but you just push it down. It's like a metal clip. All right, so next step is let's get these half shafts hooked back up. Okay, I have the wheel off. It just makes your life a lot easier. Okay, these are our triple square 10 bolts. So we can just rotate it around, get everything started. These are torqued to 80 Newton meters or 59 foot-pounds. Okay, I'm just using, if you back up here, I'm just using a screwdriver in the rotor. That's to hold everything so we can, tighten everything. So we just rotate it, every bolt, put it in, and then that holds it for us. Okay, so now that we're on this driver's side, we can go ahead and put our steering shaft back on. I save this to later because, I want to have an easier path for the axles and stuff. So anyway, just get it pulled down, lined up. Okay, and then you can put your bolt through, and it's the same triple square 10 that we were using on the axle. So since you have it handy, we'll go ahead and tighten that up. And this is going to be 20 Newton meters, which is about 15 foot-pounds. So it doesn't need much. Remember, the whole thing is aluminum. So we're gonna work on this exhaust hanger. So just make sure that 13 millimeter is loose enough. It should be, because you took it off. And then you have your trick flat washer and your screw.
I just use my ratcheting 13, get it nice and tight. Okay, now let's work on this axle. Get that into position. It's always a little tough to get the first one started, but once you do, and then the rest will just fall into place. Let's give it a little wiggle. They should thread in all the way by hand. So if they're not threading in all the way by hand, then start over. Last thing you want to do is cross thread anything. Remember, this is your T10, and we're going to torque it to the same 59 foot-pounds, 80 Newton meters. All right, so now we just lock down the rotor. Again, 59 foot-pounds. Okay, rotate it. Get 2 more bolts ready. Now I just want to get the starter back into position, so just line up this bottom hole and get it started, but I want to leave it loose because you need to access that spacer and that long bolt, and it's kind of tricky. So I'm going to get this one all the way down till about, just leave about 1/8 of an inch so it can still move a little bit. But we still want to have, some room, because we want to be able to pull it out just a tiny bit like that. And then we're going to reach up there. It's going to be tough to see, but I'm going to try to show you guys how we can get to that one. All right. I reached in, and you can see the bolt. We need to push it in and use our right hand. So I'm not going to be able to show you guys, but you have to use your left hand to push the bolt and your right hand to put the spacer in between the starter and the bell housing. So come up right here next to the exhaust, okay? And then you'll be able to reach up and fill the bolt. Okay, as you can see, we got the spacer in, and then we can thread it, and then we'll do the rest. So we'll reach down from the top and be able to get our socket on there to tighten it up. Okay, so we have one more bell housing bolt that we need to put back in next to the starter. So we'll just go ahead and get that one going, and then we'll get these 2 bottom bolts tightened up, get the starter tightened up, and this bottom bolt snug. Our 12.18, and we're just gonna snug it a little bit. Okay, I just get my 16 millimeter ratcheting and tighten up that lower starter bolt. Just get it snug, and now let's move to the top. Okay, guys, so I was able to get my Milwaukee, my little 3/8 drive, and I'm just tightening up that upper starter bolt. Okay, we'll get it snug, and then we'll switch to a regular ratchet, snug it down. Okay, so I just switched to the other side. We're gonna go ahead and get these lines out. So pull that bolt out, and then get your trans lines back into position, and just give them a little wiggle.
Make sure, yeah, they push down all the way, and then put our bolt back in, and that's a 13. We'll get a long extension, and we'll get that snug, basically our trans line back to our trans filter. All right, so we got a 13 on, and the torque wrench, this is 20 Newton meters, so 15 foot-pounds of torque, so not much. Okay, so we're down to our last 3. So we got one, so it was actually in the car like this. So we got one here, one on the top, one on the passenger side. So let's get these last 3 started. All right, so the driver's side one is just underneath this bracket. So it holds the bracket in place. So just get it started. Okay, it got stuck. Let me see. It's your 18. Oh, okay. All right. All right, got that one started. So this one is right top dead center, so it's really easy. I know there's a wire harness in the way, but basically get it started right in the center. Okay, now our last one on the passenger side. It's a little tough to see because it's kind of buried over here. I'll give you the trajectory. It's right here, basically about even with the catalytic converter. If you see where my hand's going, just get it started right there. All right. Okay. Okay. Holds on this, the starter wire harness, and it just goes into this bell housing bolt. It doesn't really do much of anything, but it just goes there. I'm gonna block it with my hand, but basically you got to get the nut there. You got to do it by braille. You got to just put your hand down there and get it started. Okay, now take a look. As you can see, we got our bracket for the wire harness for the starter, and we have a nut. So we'll just put our wrench on and get our Milwaukee over there and cinch that up. Okay, so we got our Milwaukee there. Actually, it's not quite the angle. Okay, so we just go ahead. Like I said, the goal was let's cinch everything down and then we can do the quote unquote torque sequence, but everything is, we just want to get everything snug. Okay, so technically the book specs are 30 Newton meters, which is about 22 foot-pounds. On these bolts, and then you're supposed to do a 90. Obviously, you know, the manual is designed to do this with the engine out. So because we don't have the engine out, I did this, one of the bolts, I felt what 22 foot-pounds feels like, and then what another 90 feels like. So if you've been working on stuff for a while, then you have an idea of how tight it gets to feel. And the whole thing is, we know that, you know, it's going to be tight enough. You just don't want to overdo it because it is aluminum. So just go around and we're going to tighten all those up. I did the first one here, second one. We got 2 more that we can reach on the top, and then we'll get the car back in the air and cinch up the bottom ones. Okay, so on these bottom ones, we can actually reach them with the torque wrench, so we can do them officially. It's only 15 on these initially. Okay. All right, 15, and then this is the same 90. So we'll mark them at the bottom here, and we'll go over to 9 o'clock with it.
Okay, so just a tiny bit more, go to 9 o'clock. So like I said, you can get a feel for what, that tightness is after you do it for a while. So it's tight, but it's not, crazy. And keep in mind, these bolts, according to Audi, you can use all of the bell housing bolts twice. So we've never taken it apart before, so we're good. We don't have to buy new ones. So if you did, though, they're not bad. It's about $25 for all the bolts, okay? So we did those 3, and we're gonna double check these 2 on the driver's side. On the driver's side are the bigger ones, so they're the M12. So their initial is 30. Okay, which is 22 foot-pounds. One right above the other one. So you get your 18mm socket versus your 16 that we used last time. All right, and then switch to your ratchet. So I'm just gonna make a little mark at 9 o'clock, and then we'll go to 12 o'clock with it. Okay. I'll switch to the lower one. I have a swivel on my 3/8 here. Okay. Okay, so we have our chassis support bar. We have to tweak our trans cooler line that we kind of conveniently moved out of our way. Get that back into a close proximity, and then get this kind of lined up and get a couple bolts started. These are those 18mm bolts. So I just get it snug, and then, like I said, just make sure you have your trans cooler line will be back into position there, and we'll get the rest of these bolts in. All right. Sometimes you got to leave it a little bit loose to get this, to get the last one in. So don't get too crazy before you get them all in. I'm just tacking them down. Okay, so now we just grab the torque wrench, and we're gonna go ahead and tighten these 70 Newton meters or 52 foot-pounds. All right, so then we just get our little 10mm nut onto our trans line bracket. Okay, just a rubber mount, so don't go crazy. All right, so last one, save the best for last, right? This thing was fun getting off, so it's gonna be fun getting back on. So we'll get one started. This is just a little heat shield for the axle. Protect the boot from, the hot catalytic converter. So it is important to prevent premature failure of the boot. So we'll get this one on. So the first one's there, not bad. The second one, also not terrible to get started, because you can actually get your hand in there. I say that, and then it's challenging.
So we got 2 started, and this third one is way over in the front. So we're gonna have to get creative. All right guys, so I got a long extension quarter with a swivel and with a little 6mm quarter drive Allen bit. As you can see, you get it started with your hand. You can reach up from the front here and then get your swivel in there, and then we'll snug it down. So basically this gives you guys kind of an idea of the trajectory to get to that far one. Okay, so you just get your quarter drive in there, and there you go. And the same thing for, you can use that swivel again for the top. Just helps it makes it a little bit easier because the frame rail is really close, but you can get your hand in there to get it lined up, but then go ahead and use that swivel. I'm gonna shorten it, get it a little straighter shot. Okay, cinch it down. And then the last one, obviously the easy one that you can see in access. Okay, all right, got our shield on. All right, so we got everything buttoned up under the hood. So let's go ahead and get the negative cable hooked back up. Okay. All right, so we got the transmission in, now we're back in the car. You'll notice that when you first put your key in, and we're not touching the brake, we're not trying to start it or anything, you're gonna see the little word safe right by the temperature display. And then after a few seconds, you'll get your gearbox limited warning message. So basically what this means is the Audi, VW, Volkswagen, all those, the VAG group, they have component protection stuff. So whenever you swap out components, anything electrical, this car's computer VIN number is registered to those parts. So it's going to be they're part or VIN specific. So we're going to go ahead and reprogram that with a buddy who's over in Germany. He's going to log in to our laptop and go ahead and do it, because he has the account that you need, online access to the database in order to reprogram this transmission to our VIN. All right. All right, guys, so Ken, who let us use his lift in his shop, he has this Autel device, so we're going to use that as the pass-through, and then we got the Otis software installed on our laptop. So we're going to jump online with our buddy and see if he can remotely unlock this tranny. All right, guys, so he jumped on, did the programming. It only takes a couple of minutes. It's so crazy. Just remember, on the first startup, you just want to rev it up to 2,000, 2,500 for a few seconds. Make sure that fluid is circulating through the pump. And as you can tell, no more safe mode and no more error message, which would immediately pop up previously. So literally 2 minutes programming and we're good. So let's get it back on the rack. We'll double check the fluid levels. And you can just kind of just go through the gears a few times while you have it here. Just reverse drive a few times. Make sure the fluid's circulating through all the nooks and crannies. And then we'll get it on the rack and get it up to operating temperature, and then we can pull that drain plug and check the fluid level, add if necessary. All right, so we got the car back up in the air. We got it idling just in park. We want to get that temp up to 35 degrees. So we just check our measurement here. We're sitting at 31. So we got to wait till it gets to 35, and then we're going to pull that drain plug. Okay, so we got the temp up to 35. So we're going to go ahead and remove our drain plug. So you're going to get a little fluid that's going to spill out initially. That's normal. If it comes out and it's a steady stream, then we know that we're good, and we're going to let it drain off until we got a steady stream. So that was only a little bit, so we know that we're low because we're not getting anything out. All right, so I'm just going to use a little a pump gun to put the fluid in. You can always use, the hand pump if that's all you got. And then we have our little adapter plug on there so we can hook the hose to it. So yeah, let's start putting some juice in. So I'm just gonna start, I'm gonna put like a half a quart in. And then we're gonna see where we're at. We want it to be dripping out with a steady stream. So if we're not dripping out, then we don't have enough. So let's put some more. Okay, there we go, guys. That's what we're looking for. Nice steady stream. Now we can let that drip for a second. Okay, and as soon as it starts to trickle, then we'll go ahead and put in our drain plug. There we go. Okay, now we're just gonna go ahead and torque that drain plug to 22 foot-pounds. So it's not much. Remember, it has that crush washer, so don't go crazy. It's aluminum on aluminum. All right. All right, I just want to show you guys, we got the old transmission here, and we took out the TCU, the transmission control unit. So if you guys, this is another way, if you don't have a buddy that has the cable to access, that is something that you would have to purchase. But keep in mind that to do the programming with the dealer, they want about $550. They quoted about 2.5 hours to basically unlock the component security. So the other option is you could pull this back cover off if you see all the bolts there. So you need to pull that off. You need to buy a gasket, and then you could swap out your control unit. This is what's programmed to your VIN number. So we decided to just go with everything on the transmission we got from the junkyard, because I'm not sure if anything was going on with this. This might have been the reason the transmission was slipping. You know, if these things get messed up, these little sensors, then things go haywire. So it's just another option. I mean, you could always try that first. If you got the transmission, you know, you've run underneath the car and you want to just pop this off, just keep in mind you're going to lose all the fluid. But if you save the fluid, theoretically you could put that same fluid back in and then just test, you know, swapping out control units. You know, put the control unit into the new transmission. That way your car recognizes it. So it's just another option. I just want to show you guys that we took this one out to inspect everything, but it's not that hard to pull this cover off, and then you can make a decision on what route you want to go. All right, guys, we took it for a little test drive around the block. Everything seems to be working fine. We got, works in manual mode. It works in forward and reverse. We got no air codes. And so, yeah, everything's looks solid. Thanks again, guys, for hanging out on another video. Hopefully this inspired you to do a little CVT transmission swap on your B8 A4 A4. So hopefully gave you some encouragement. All the parts we used are in the description below. Any questions, comments, feel free to reach out anytime. Catch you guys on the next one.